Friday, the 4th of February, 2022. Welcome to Backchannel on this stunning Friday morning here in Los Angeles, California. It's beautiful, beautiful morning, same as yesterday and the day before, and probably tomorrow. Welcome wherever you are, whoever you are. You are very welcome to join Backchannel, to have your say, to talk back, to message me, to lend your voice to the program. Whatever you want to do, it's all down to you. It's your show. I'm just the puppet. So feel free to get in touch in the usual way. You can wake up your device. If you have an echo show, just say the wake up word, then say, and then your message. If you're watching on YouTube, you can comment there as well. And at backchannel.tv, you can message me, leave reviews, and anything else that interests you. This is the Anthony Davis Show. We've got a couple of hours to take a look at the news around the country, find out what's happening in the lightest and most entertaining fashion. We're going to look at the government's proposed ghost gun initiative. Also, Alison Fluke Akron from Kansas, once known as doe-eyed all-American girl, now faces terrorism charges for allegedly leading a female Islamic State fighting squadron. We'll take a look at her case in more detail. And a Texas butterfly sanctuary has been forced to close due to escalating threats from conspiracy theorists. We'll be looking at that story. Love a butterfly, me. I love a butterfly. We discussed the monarch a little bit yesterday, didn't we? So we'll continue the butterfly theme this week. And finally, on this day in 2004, Mark Zuckerberg launched Facebook from his Harvard dormitory room. Wasn't it called The Facebook? I think it was. I think it was called The Facebook. Well, we're going to look at some fun Facebook facts, such as which Hollywood superstar was the first face, and what's the most liked photo of all time. I never joined Facebook. I literally have never, ever used it. So I don't really know what it looks like. I don't know. People send me links and I can't open them because I have no account. And I love that. I love that. Because I've always felt that he was a bad person. And if you've seen the movie The Social Network, which is a very good, dramatization of that, the idea of sharing other people's business is why I never liked Mark Zuckerberg, because I don't think other people's business should be your business. That's my opinion. So maybe you've done the same. I mean, maybe in light of the recent kind of controversies over Facebook, maybe you decided to ditch it. A lot of people have. Michael's just joined us. Let me know, Michael. Are you a Facebooker or a non-Facebooker? I mean, I like Twitter, and I don't really like Instagram, but I do it because, I have a private account for my friends and family back in the other country. But I just feel like, I tell you who came off all social media today. I saw it posted, ironically, was Pamela Anderson's. You know who she is? She used to be in Baywatch. And she posted a photograph of herself, obviously, looking amazing, obviously. And it said, "This is going to be my last post on social medias. I'm not going to be on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram ever again." She said, "I'm in a good place in my life." She said, "I've found relative peace, and I am no longer going to be in the social media verse." And she's gone. Like that, she's gone. And I'm thinking, this is great. This is great. I mean, I wasn't interested in her opinion in the first place. I'm kidding. You know what I mean, though. It is interesting. I mean, the thing is, I use WhatsApp, and that is owned by Facebook, and Instagram is owned by Facebook. And now they put the Meta logos at the beginning. So when you open those apps, you get the Meta logo. And that makes me makes me want to get rid of WhatsApp, makes me want to get rid of Instagram. But, it's kind of essential, isn't it? And Twitter I've only ever used for work. And tragically, in my business, you are judged on how many followers you have and whether you're verified and all of those things. Yeah, I agree. I think there are plenty of social media rebels who have either taken holidays from social media. A lot of people do that. They say, right, I'm taking a month off. And in fact, someone I follow just came back on Twitter and they're like, "I've been off for a month. What's been happening? Has anything changed?" So We'll look at this together. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? That we are really living in a world where there's this other world, this virtual world that kind of is existing, this kind of sub-narrative, subplot of all of our lives. Because I exist in this world. I have a life. I have kids. I try and live in the real world. And then I sometimes disappear into my phone. And I have opinions that I don't put out in my real world because no one's interested. No one's interested in my opinions about Boris Johnson in the real world. But in the social media, Twitterverse, where I have like 14,000 followers, the thing I find interesting about my social media is that if I click on my followers and then I click verified, I can see all the verified followers. Barack Obama follows me, right? Like some really amazing people that I highly respect, journalists and great thinkers and writers and authors, philosophers and artists. They follow me. You can check to see which verified people follow you. And when I saw that Barack Obama was following me, and he doesn't follow many people. I mean, I think he follows 600,000 people, but he has something like 200 million followers, right? I don't know how I got on there. I'm just saying, I don't know how I got on there. Maybe when I followed him, he was like, oh, look, yeah, I'll follow him back. I don't think that was it. I don't know how it is or what it is. But anyway, I do message him sometimes. He never replies, but I do DM him. And I say stuff like, great speech. Shame about the tan suit. But, this is what you do. But I could drop it tomorrow, genuinely. Like, I could literally stop it tomorrow and I wouldn't care. I would not care. I'd do it because I feel obliged to keep in the conversation. And I'm very opinionated about the news. And I feel like, there's a big problem with misinformation, disinformation. So I try and do my bit and share accurate stuff. But I just recognize that it's all just garbage. Yeah, this is true. I was thinking that years ago, the only way in England, the only way you could get your opinion published is you would write a letter to the Times newspaper and it would be entitled, Dear Sir. And it might get published, like 1 in a million, it might get published. And you were like a local celebrity. Oh, did you see so-and-so's letter in the Times got published in the Times, letters section? And literally, that was the only way that members of the public could get published. There was nowhere else to do it. You couldn't. There was no self-published books. You had to go to a publisher. There was no blogs. There was no threads. There was nothing. People were silenced. Do you think it was better? Maybe it was better. Edward, Stacey, Liam, thank you. Edward says, would you play Elvis Presley? Yes, with pleasure. Let me just get that on for you now. There we go. Return to sender. So this is how the world has changed in my lifetime. People didn't have a voice. They literally had to go in the street and protest and make a banner or a placard and stand in line. Or, this is why we needed unions. We needed people to organize. And now we have social media. That's why it's devalued a lot of the unions, because people do have a voice. My favorite type of voice is when, say, a UPS driver gets abused in the street by somebody for being black or parking in the bad place or something, often both of those things. And then they record a bit of them and then they record a monologue of themselves saying, I have to deal with this every day. This is my life. Is it worth it? And then they post it online. And I'm like, wow, that is, that's like real life. This is what we need to see. This is what the internet has done. It has enabled people in regular working jobs to show the complexities and difficulties of just trying to get stuff done with crazy people around. So the internet has huge value. Of course it does. Of course it does. But it's also, unfortunately, the place where Al-Qaeda operated from. Al-Qaeda never had an office. There was no head office where you go and pay your subs. They existed on the internet. If it wasn't for the internet, then it might not have happened. They used the internet to communicate in their obviously in a very code-like fashion, but they existed, and a lot of these organizations now, including IS, the Islamic State, they operate online. And so without the internet, it would be different. It wouldn't necessarily be harder, but it would be different. And so we're going to do a story a little bit later about a girl who has literally appeared in Kansas, like Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, clicked her heels 3 times, and because of the internet, she becomes a female Islamic State fighting squadron who's now on charges for terrorism. But it's the internet that has enabled this. Because otherwise she would have stayed in Kansas with Toto and the Scarecrow and the Tin Man and the Cowardly Lion. Stacey's having pizza chips and I don't know what that is, Stacey. It says a flanny, but that could be a flannel. Don't. And Doug says, I'm back in the fridge for my mum. Well, that's a good place to keep her. Oh, brownie. Thank you, Stacey. Thank you. I love a brownie. Fred's with us as well. Liam, Edward, Michael, John. Good morning, everybody. Nice to see you. So we're talking specifically about, this morning we just kind of started a conversation about Facebook, weirdly. Did you know its share price yesterday dropped 25%? It lost 25% of its value yesterday. Do you know how much that is? That's $200 billion it lost on the stock market yesterday. So I don't invest in the stocks in that way, but and I would never invest in Facebook. The things that I've invested in are like green energy organizations, and I have lost so much money. I seriously, I put money in. I bought shares in these biofuels. I put money in green energy creation. All lost money, all of them. Yeah, I'm not buying pet food shares. I can't. I just can't. I'm not a doggy daddy. I'm just a regular daddy. So yeah, guys, tell me if you've found yourself in a situation where you've given up on the social media, because we've been talking about Facebook a little bit this morning. Let's just jump on the morning papers. The Bradenton Herald is first on our list. Manatee deputy reprimanded for involvement in girl's arrest. Hello? What kind of a headline is that? 12-year-old Jaquila Jones didn't break any laws when she took out her cell phone last September and recorded a fight on the campus of Palmview K-8 in Palmetto. But when school administrators insisted she hand over her phone and she refused, Manatee County Sheriff deputies ended up arresting the girl and escorting her from the campus in handcuffs. The sheriff's office investigating the incident, in which Jaquila was secluded in a room, repeatedly asked to delete the video by administrators, and then brought to the ground by a deputy and handcuffed. Oh, you wrestled a girl, a 12-year-old, to the ground, did you? You think that's okay? Sheriff Rick Wells told the Bradenton Herald that deputies have no role to play in the enforcement of Manatee County School District policies, including the use of cell phones on campus. He said he has since issued a directive to all school resource officers, or SROs, making that clear. The Bradenton Herald requested a copy of the reports involved in the internal affairs inquiry. They are public records because the sheriff's office is a government agency funded by taxpayer dollars. They show one deputy was issued a written reprimand when Deputy Judd Beckwith arrived at Palmview to transport Jaquila to the Manatee Regional Juvenile Detention Center. Oh my goodness. He was chewing tobacco and using profanity while speaking to the girl. Okay, you're not going to do that, expletive. You ain't going to be trying to slip those cuffs on me, you expletive up. I don't deal with this expletive, Beckwith told the 7th grader. After its review of Beckwith, the sheriff's office imposed 2 counts of conduct unbecoming of a deputy. He received the minimum punishment allowed in such a violation. I mean, what has happened to this world when it's okay to behave like this, especially someone in uniform? Think about what this girl's going to grow up thinking about, like men in uniform. What she's going to think about this kind of authority if it undermines her at the age of 12, wrestle her to the ground, swear at her, handcuff her. What's that going to do for her? She'll probably never be able to have a relationship with a man, ever. Do you see what I mean? Like, in terms of trust. Because this happens. It's very well documented, especially with rape victims and similar. It's like, how do you continue living if this is the example that you are exposed to? It's like having alcoholic parents, the children become alcoholics. It's basically this copycat behavior. And it's traumatizing. It's called childhood trauma. It's a thing. People specialize in this. So what they should be doing is not just, reprimanding this guy, well, not even reprimanding, giving him the minimum punishment, but they should make him completely responsible for her rehabilitation. He should be paying for it. And he should sit in on the sessions with her and do counseling with her and repent in front of her and be humiliated in front of her. I mean, if you are a child and there's a schoolyard brawl going on, film it. Film it. This is how Derek Chauvin got caught for the murder of George Floyd. Someone filmed it. It's the only evidence we have against the authorities these days, because they don't take our word for it. Do you see what I mean? Imagine what would have happened to George Floyd if there was no one filming. Imagine how that story would have played out. Imagine how the Black Lives Matter movement might not have existed in the same way if nobody had filmed that. Another black person dies at the hands of a white police officer. No one says anything about it. It might make the local newspaper. And the story would all be about the fact that this guy resisted arrest, and then that'll be the end of it. But it's filmed. So you can see a man being tortured, and you can see a man having the life literally strangled out of him under the knee of a white supremacist. I mean, it's like, film it, girl. Peyton, hello. Magnus, hello. Fred, hello. Welcome to Backchannel. We're looking at the Bradenton Herald this morning. Florida to invest $89 million in vocational programs. Yes, Ron DeSantis, who refused to vote in favor of the infrastructure bill, is happily taking federal dollars and distributing them like he is Santa Claus himself. Yeah. Ron DeSantis announced an $89 million state initiative to boost career and technical training for students who decide against a traditional college degree. Yes, we like the state universities, the state colleges, it's great, but so much of the career and technical has moved out of high schools where it used to be a staple, the governor said. Fine. Take the credit. Ron, take the credit. Everybody knows that you're a bad person who won't denounce Nazis. Here's where Ron DeSantis, yeah. Here's where you can get an N95. Oh, guess what? My at-home Joe Biden coronavirus tests arrived. You know that Biden was sending 4 COVID tests to all households that requested them via the post office? Mine arrived. Yeah, it's an initiative. They're sending N95 masks, or giving people N95 masks, and they're also sending 4 tests. Because in England, where my family are, they've been able to request on the National Health Service website a pack of 8 tests. Whenever they like. Whenever they like. They're free. Just get sent. I've been paying $23.99 for every pack of 2 tests that I've bought. And most of the time they're out of stock. And I have bought, and plus the tests I've had to pay for, I've probably spent $1,000 in coronavirus testing that I am not able to be reimbursed for. I mean, it's just, someone's making a lot of money out of this. Anyway, mine arrived. They're in my mailbox. I need to go collect them. And it actually worked. I mean, I was worried because there was a lot resting on this, because when Biden announced this initiative, they hadn't even sourced where they were going to get these tests from. So they managed to do it. They managed to get them packaged, and they managed to get them sent out within a couple of weeks. Isn't it funny how the attitude to Omicron has changed everything now? I mean, in England, they've lifted all restrictions. People are just carrying on like normal. They're like, it's a cold. I mean, it's good in a way. It's good that we've now come to this realization that the dominant strain is Omicron, and therefore it's not as serious. But the hospitals are still rammed. The ICUs are still packed. But I think it's psychological what's changed. There's a difference now in the thinking, and that is that Omicron is, worst case scenario, you'll be off sick for a week, but you won't be in ICU. I mean, I guess it's because most people are vaccinated, and so they feel that their vaccine is going to protect them, which it will, of course. Legislature advances redistricting maps on party line votes. This is legislators finish work on their legislative redistricting maps on Thursday as a unanimous Senate. Oh, Magnus got his. Oh, Magnus, well done. Yours arrived. Are you in Virginia? There you go. Don't eat them all at once. Do you feel like these tests are coming at the right moment? Because my concern is that I really needed these tests about 3 weeks ago, And so I think Biden announced it at a time when suddenly everyone was like, we got to test. And then, of course, it takes 2 weeks for them to arrive. And now everyone's calms down a little bit. But I suppose it's good to have them. So, Magnus, are you going to be using one immediately, or are you going to wait? Do you have reason to wait for them? Or they're just going to sit in stock? Because, I'll be honest, the pharmacies, the moment they get them in, they sell out. Literally, the moment they arrive, they sell out. And that's people paying for them. $24 for a pack of 2. Oh, he's going to wait because he feels fine. Good idea. Isn't that a James Taylor song? I'm going to wait because I feel fine. I think so. Yeah, Magnus is a great name. We're just saying. In England, we had a TV host called Magnus Magnuson. He was basically called Magnus twice. Such a great name. He was an Irishman, wasn't he? Yeah, he was an Irishman, definitely. Yeah, he was definitely an Irishman. He might have even been Northern Irish. Yeah, I'm having a wager with a Northern Irish person whether Magnus Magnuson was a Northern Irish person. I'd say he was Northern Irish. Am I right? Icelandic? That doesn't make sense. Well, he sounded like an Irishman. My favorite Northern Irish news person was John Cole. Do you remember John Cole? He used to report for the BBC. And he was the one that famously got, he was always like a little rabbit. I'm John Cole, he used to say. Loved him. Okay, let's go back to the newspapers. We're just looking at the legislature advance redistricting maps on party lines. Okay, let's move on to another newspaper because we've got a whole stack of them here and it's important to get through these. The News Press for Fort Myers. We're staying in Florida right now. And Magnus, depending on where you are and you'd like to, tell us, if you want us to do a Virginia newspaper, let us know and we shall. I think he might have dropped off. You're obsessed with Magnus. I don't even think Magnus is watching anymore. I think he was like, there's too much Magnus action going on here. He said, I wanted to be here anonymously, and you guys weren't leaving me alone. Caloosahatchee Reservoir progress. Project to aid river expected to be operational by the end of 2023 is the headline. Their work is continuing on the reservoir. The objective of the reservoir is to capture and store water from the river basin. Yes, that is what a reservoir does. Thank you, Mr. DeSantis. Abortion ban bill on fast track. I know, they're desperate to get this in, aren't they? Desperate to get this in the Republican states. And you know, the crazy thing is there's been no referenda. Like, no one's asked the people. There's been no vote on whether or not people living in the state want to ban abortion or not. It's no one's asked them. It's just this minority of this evangelical Christian movement that have been pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, and they're just like, well, you know, it's suddenly become Republican policy. But the pro-life movement was never the bedrock of Republican policy. Never. Not under George W. Bush. It just wasn't. Not under Reagan. It just wasn't. Oh, is J-Lo with us again? Jennifer Lopez in New York. Thank you, J-Lo. Welcome to the show. Whose show was I watching the other day? Maybe it was Hal's show I was watching, and I was seeing Jennifer Lopez pop up on other shows, and I was like, this is nice. You know, Jennifer is obviously... There's no tours on at the moment because of COVID, you know, so she's not working. She's been watching Backchannel just 24/7. You know, from the block. How do I get from that back into the abortion rights story? It's very difficult for me to like jump. It's very. I'm really earning my money today, you know. A Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission report says the Naples Zoo at Caribbean Gardens is not at fault for a tiger attack that left an 8-year-old Malayan tiger, Echo, shot dead in his enclosure. The FWC conducted its investigation citing clear signage and barriers that the 26-year-old ignored to get close to the tiger. Was this the cleaner? Was this that story about the cleaner? Do you remember this? Yes, I think it was. I think we covered this story a few weeks ago. He was a cleaner, and his job was to like clean around the zoo, and he stuck his arm in the grill. He told investigators he thought there was a hope to save his hand. Doctors amputated his left arm due to the severity of his injury. Apparently, he was a bit drunk. The nurse said she smelled alcohol on his breath. He's a 26-year-old. His name was River Rosenquist. That's a good name. River Rosenquist. What a great name. With a name like that, he could have had a great career in the adult entertainment industry. River Rosenquist. So good. Yeah, it is. Like a 90s DJ. I love it. Okay, should we go to Melbourne, Florida now? Final one for Florida, because, you know, we like to give Florida a good kicking. Not because of people in Florida, but because of its leader. You know, just not a fan. SpaceX launches Starlink mission, another kind of phallic rocket launch. Not quite as phallic as the Jeff Bezos rocket. This is a bit more streamlined. But it says SpaceX vaulted yet another batch of Starlink satellites from Kennedy Space Center on Thursday, expanding its space-based internet constellation just as a new premium connectivity option takes shape. The 1:13 p.m. EST launch from Pad 39A took 49 of the flat-pack satellites to low Earth orbit. Flat-pack satellites? Are they from IKEA or something? They're going to have to send someone up there with a whole bunch of tools, like an Allen key. And there'll always be a few bits left over, won't they? They'll be like, oh, there's still 6 screws left in the bag. Is it going to last? There's so much space junk up there now. I mean, it's like a real problem. There is so much stuff up there. More satellites. It says, though SpaceX has launched more than 2,000 satellites, a database maintained by Harvard-Smithsonian Center for Astrophysics, Jonathan McDowell, shows around 1,515 are currently operational. The launch came just after Elon Musk announced Starlink Premium, an upgraded version of the standard service that offers faster speeds, high priority, and updated hardware. Starlink's website advertises premium speeds between 150 and 500 megabits per second. I mean, you think Elon Musk has got it sewn up down here with Teslas and Solar City and various things. The guy's got space sewn up as well. He literally owns all of the telecommunications up there. That's where the money is, not where the cars. The internet, what, Starry? Oh, I don't know that he had an internet provider service. I didn't know that. I mean, I don't know that I want to get it, hang on. Elon Musk internet. Here we go. Starlink. It's a low latency, high speed broadband internet across the globe. This is what he's doing. This is what he's doing. Fascinating. This is why satellites are crashing into the moon. This is very interesting. So I wonder how I can do this. I'm going to put my postcode in. I wonder if it's gonna work for me to see if I can get it, because my contract with Spectrum is going to be up soon. Wow, it will cost me $500 for the hardware, $99 a month for the service, $50 for shipping and handling, and $52 in tax. It says it's currently at capacity in my area, so my order may not be fulfilled until 2023 or later. I don't think I want to do that. It's asking me for a $99 deposit. I don't know if I want to do that. So basically, it's like a little satellite dish. It's like a little satellite dish. I'm the go-to tech guy, and my producer knows a lot more about it than I do. So there's another company called Starry that are operating here. And they are doing basically this, but they're doing it over 5G and 3 and 4G. And it's cheap. I'm just looking it up. Here we go. And I actually thought this was better. Yeah, starry.com. Incredibly fast internet and service you'll love. Blazing fast speeds, unmatched service, happiness guaranteed. Well, I do like a little happiness. But it's just, the same but different. I don't know if it's. I'm going to put my postcode in this one as well and see what happens. Yeah, who's the worst offender for space junk? Oh, South Korea are the worst for space junk. Yes, I was thinking about that because every week they're announcing another missile launch. And you think, well, where are these things ending up? Where are they going? And it's all done for like peacocking and posturing, isn't it? Just to kind of show off their might and their strength. Yeah, Star is not available in my area. That's a shame. I just like the idea of using like a mobile technology that has no wires. Like, I'm sick of wires and infrastructure, cables. I'm sick of it. And I just like the idea of everything being wireless, but at the same time, I'm like not happy about the number of satellites in the sky. So I'm just like a total contradiction. I mean, I am basically pointless. I really feel like if you could see, think about this for a second. If you could put on a pair of glasses, let's say they were those like blue light glasses that you buy cheaply to stop you from getting headaches. Let's say you would have put those on, but visually they showed you every frequency and wireless network that was in your space. Imagine that. What it would look like if you could actually see all of the energy that was generated by Bluetooth. Because I got, 7 Bluetooth devices in this room? I've got... We are literally cooking ourselves. It's like we're in a giant microwave. The radiation off of the collective number of things. I mean, I have... let me have a look here. I think I might be able to access it on here. It'll tell me how many... I can log into my modem. It'll tell me how many devices are currently on my system. Here we go. Device manager. It's just connecting. Connected. Online. One satellite. Device manager. Here we go. And this is like an example. And these are just the ones that are on. These are just the ones that are on. There's currently 19 devices that are on Wi-Fi in my house. 19. And those are just the ones that are on. My TV's not on. My Apple TV's not on. You know, these are just the devices that are sitting there idle. 19. I mean, that's just normal, you know. And I'm like, I live on my own. I mean, can you imagine, like, if in a household these days? Well, think about it. Every device you have. It's crazy, right? We are effectively living now in a technological space that is riddled with electrostatic and magnetic frequencies, and we just learn to live with it. It's a bit like yesterday how we were talking about, you know, Joe Biden wanting to cure cancer, and how the way he's going to go about it is investing in pharmaceuticals and in technology and all that. And meanwhile, we're drinking water that is infested with all of these carcinogenic chemicals like arsenic and everything else. And we're buying food in the supermarket that comes with disclaimer labels saying that this may cause cancer. And that's just bread, regular bread. So, you know, what do they call it? They call it like nipping it in the bud, going to the root of the problem. And the problem is, if you're just trying to fix a problem that is perpetuating, then that's just like capitalism, isn't it? You know, that just enables capitalism. What you really want to do is just fix the water supply and learn how to make bread with just regular flour, hopefully unbleached, and water, and you don't need to have all of these chemicals in the bread. Welcome to Elizabeth and Emily, Josephine, and Correct. Nice to know that you're part of the show. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. If you haven't seen us and you're just listening, like Elizabeth, then you can absolutely go to YouTube and search Anthony Davis Backchannel. You could also, if you have an Echo Show, just boot that up and ask it to open Backchannel, and it will. And you'll see the show as well as hear the show. And, of course, you can comment at backchannel.tv. You can message me that way as well if you've got something to say, if you have an opinion about any of the stuff that we're discussing, as we've been looking this morning, right now, certainly, at Florida Today, the part of the Today, USA Today newspaper network, and looking at SpaceX vaulting yet another batch of Starlink satellites from Kennedy Space Center yesterday. So I was just saying, wouldn't it be crazy if you had like a pair of glasses you could put on just to see how many frequencies were in your personal space? And we effectively now, if you think about it, are living in a... And I love it. Like, I'm not complaining. I'm not moaning. Because, of course, I love technology. And I love the fact that there are 19 devices on in my home. I also like the fact that my electricity bill is included in my rent. Carla, might be the single greatest thing that's ever happened to me. My electricity bill is included in my rent. So, I know. It's unbelievable. And the water and the gas, all included in my rent. So, I have an electric car, which I charge at home, which my landlord pays for the electricity. So I don't pay to drive. It's amazing. I don't think he's even realized yet. But the point is, it's the best part of the deal. I mean, the rent is not cheap. The rent is relatively high, but the best part of it is that I don't pay any bills. So the more devices, I mean, I do pay for the internet. That's the one thing I do pay for. You're muted. You're muted. You're muted. Yeah. Well, but here's the thing about the electric car, because, we often... Yeah, but I bought my electric car was $4,000. It was just $4,000. Well, yeah, but the average car purchase in America is like 4 or 5 times that. But it's this is America. It's different. Everyone has a car. Everyone has a car. The thinking where I'm from in England is that it's just a luxury, and you would never do that. I don't think I'm being exclusive by saying I bought a car on Craigslist. I bought a car on Craigslist for $4,000, but it's fully electric, and so I don't pay. And you can do this if you buy a car. I think it's a 2013 model, so it's like 9 years old. The car is 9 years old, and yeah, it's like gas is obviously so high now. It's like a little bit of a way round. I don't know that there's many cool features in the electric car, other than the fact that it's silent and people can't hear you returning at 3 o'clock in the morning. That was when you. It is now the drug dealer's car of choice. Do you remember, like, if you were a kid and like you lived with your parents and you went out late night drinking, or not even drinking, just dating or something, and you'd kind of like want to creep back if you borrowed their car. You'd like park round the corner because you wouldn't want them to hear you like slamming the door or drive. And this is why I was convinced that some of my friends' parents had purposely installed like a gravel driveway, so you could hear the car. You could literally hear the footsteps crunching on the gravel as they approached the front door. That's what parenting was like in the 1970s. That's just what it was like. No mobile phones. You just had a gravel driveway. It's just different now. Anyway, Rosalind's joined us. Suki's here. Hi, Suki. First time for you. Welcome. Nice to know you're listening to the show, watching the show. Oh, you're watching from Tennessee. Lovely. Elizabeth is with us as well. She's listening. Emily is here. Josephine, thank you for being part of Backchannel as we kind of dart our way across the United States. Stacey says she turns off her lamp at night. Yes. Do you know, this is the other thing I want to know about. Is like, about putting devices into standby. Uses electricity. And turning them off at the wall, obviously, is the way to go. But, plug sockets in England are this way, and they have switches. So each socket has a switch. But in America, the sockets don't have switches. Not a single socket has a switch in America. There's no, you can't switch off anything at the mains in American sockets. There's no switch. You have to pull it out the wall. And this is very interesting to me because in England we have switches on all of our, and the other thing about England power is it's all 240 volts, whereas in America it's 110 volts. So it's like double the power, and also English ones have to be earthed. So you have 3 holes, and the third one is, but a lot of plugs in America are just 2-pin. They're not earthed. This is why they spend more on fire service in the US. These are just fires waiting to happen. But we have switches, so you can turn out the power. First thing you would do. And that was something that struck me when I first moved to America. I was like, this is fascinating. Like, I have all these sockets everywhere, and like none of them have a switch on them. And so if you turn something off the device, if you turn the device off, it's still drawing power. all the devices are on all of the time. This is a big deal. So unless you were to go to bed at night and throw the master switch on your fuse box, chunk, right? There's no point in having anything on at night, right? Nothing. I mean, you might want to charge your phone overnight, but charge it in the day. They should put the master switch inside the house. This is actually a very good idea I'm just having now. Think about this. You go to bed at night, you power down the entire house. Harper, what do you think? Thanks for just joining. First time from Texas. And I do feel... Stacy says I always charge my phone overnight, so that way I'll be able to use it the next day. Well, this is true. But do you apart from the lamp, do you turn other things off? Oh, Harper says hi. Hi, Harper. Harper, are you turning stuff off, or are you leaving it all on at night? Because I think this is like a new thing now. You got to bear in mind, I'm not paying any electricity bills, right? So I have less inclination to want to turn everything off. But I also purposely don't use the air conditioning because I don't believe in it. I think it's unnecessary and wasteful. So, I'm saving my landlord money on the air conditioning, but at the same time, I charge my electric car. So there's a lot of, you got to just try and do a little bit. But imagine how much energy or how much less energy the whole world would use if there was a directive that said at night, you had to go outside to the main master fuse box and turn everything off. Power down. I mean, in England in the 1970s and early 80s, we had a thing called the 3-day week where the coal miners were on strike and they weren't producing coal, so the power stations weren't working, and there was just enough electricity and energy for three days. And for four of the days, they would be in darkness. Use candles. Stacey says we do turn off the lights in the kitchen and the sink off when we're not using it. You turn off the sink. Well, what do you mean you stop the tap? You stop the faucet from running? Or you have an electric sink? I'm interested. Maybe you can let me know. I bought I bought solar everything that I can get. So I have lights outside on the deck, and they're all solar. I have no power out there, so that's all solar. I have a solar charger for my phone, so I try and charge my phone with solar. Oh, Stacey says we stop the faucet from running by turning it off. Good idea. Nolan, welcome. Nolan, Harper, Rosalind, Suki, Elizabeth. It's great to know that you're here. This is a very interesting conversation. I remember when I was younger, one of the... Nolan, maybe you do the same as I do, but I was taught as a child, when you're brushing your teeth, don't leave the water running. Are you aware of this? If you open the tap while you're brushing your teeth, you're not sticking your toothbrush under it, you're just brushing your teeth. And so think about all that water over our entire lifetime that is running down the plug hole and going back out into wherever it ends up. I don't know where it goes, probably the sea, as wastewater, when in fact... you could just have it off and turn it on for a second when you need to moisten your toothbrush. So let me know if you're one of those people, if you're a faucet on or faucet off person during the toothbrushing. Nolan, Daniel, let me know. Oh, Daniel, sorry. Daniel, just give me a simple yes or no. I mean, maybe that'll work. If you're a faucet on during teeth brushing or a faucet off during teeth brushing. Because this is important research. This is qualitative. I'm gonna have a chart up here, and I'm just gonna have everybody's name. Just gonna know a little bit about your toothbrushing activities. And I try and do this with my children as well. They like to turn the tap on, and I'm like, look, think about this. The water is just running out. And also, you're supposed to brush your teeth for 2 minutes, right? That's how long your electric toothbrush runs for. You're supposed to run it for 2 minutes. So 2 minutes of water, people do it. I mean, people are doing it right now. They are brushing their teeth and not using the water that is running. Stacey says we never turn the faucet on when we're brushing our teeth. Thank you, Stacey. Welcome to this new world of thoughtfulness and climate change. See, we're all... I think people are slowly learning. Slowly, anyway. Let's go back to the morning papers. Redrawn, we're on the Florida today. Redrawn districts await court ruling. It says one lawmaker observed the governor is drawing the map and he is approver of the map. Yes, now this is something, because as you know, Ron DeSantis is a very bad person. And it says, and he's realized that he can't win, so he's now cheating. So the Florida House and Senate have approved redistricting maps which likely keep in place big Republican majorities in the legislature for the next 10 years. But a bigger unknown remains: the shape of Florida's 28 congressional boundaries. Governor Ron DeSantis is asking the state Supreme Court to review the legality of a Tallahassee to Jacksonville congressional district in place since 2015 that he would erase in his redistricting proposal, which cuts in half the 4 seats seen as likely to send a black representative to Washington. The DeSantis map would increase the probability of state electing more Republicans to Congress. The thing is, he's not just a cheat, but he's also a white supremacist, who wouldn't denounce Nazis 2 days ago. So, I mean, this guy's record is horrendous. What is the character of these people that like to be in positions of power? I've always thought that, it takes a certain type of person to want to be in office. I've never wanted to be in charge of anything. I mean, I'll do dinner. But that's kind of where it ends for me. Anyway, following the governor's request, the House abruptly put on hold its efforts to reshape congressional boundaries until justices issue an advisory on the Republican governor's inquiry. So there we go. Ron DeSantis, living it up in Florida. Let's move on to the Times-Union in Albany, New York now. Buried Troy shooting probe aired. City releases document after the Thevinin family civil rights suit that settled for $1.5 million. This was the fatal shooting in 2016 of a DWI suspect by a city police sergeant. Apparently it was legally justified. I mean, really? Really? Legal experts said in a report that rejected findings by the department's Internal Affairs Bureau that blamed the sergeant's actions for the man's death. The city released the 3rd of December 2018 report that was commissioned by the police department after its Inspectional Services Bureau found that Sergeant Randall French was responsible for shooting Edson in April in 2016 and recommended disciplinary action. The city withheld the 19-page report from public scrutiny until Thursday, after the city settled a federal civil rights lawsuit filed by the family for $1.55 million, and it was discontinued Tuesday by a U.S. magistrate. I mean, this whole thing stinks, doesn't it? It just stinks of corruption. Paying off a family so that a police officer gets off. They said he resisted lawful arrest, and it was his actions, not those of Sergeant French, that set this incident in motion. Yeah, but you don't execute people. Listen, this is how it should go, okay? You're under arrest. Stand still. No, you're going to shoot me. I don't want to die. I'm gonna run for my life because historically white police officers kill black people. So sorry, I'm off. Right? Bang, bang, bang. That's how it goes. Here's a little thing that you might want to consider. This is how they police in England. Let him go. Let him go. Just let him go. You can catch him another day. You don't execute him. Just let him go. There's this desire by these police officers that they either have to capture the person or execute them there and then, at that very moment. In England, no one chases anyone. The policemen are all too fat. They just look at CCTV. The British bobbies, the big traditional British bobbies, slightly overweight, don't chase people, just get the CCTV. Then they can use what they call traditional policing methods, like to actually do some crime fighting. They put all the pieces together. Yeah, the British police situation is actually a bit of a mess at the moment. And funnily enough, our police commissioner, London police commissioner, is called Cressida Dick, which is one of the greatest names ever for one of the worst police officers. Famously, she presided over the John Charles de Menezes scandal, which is we've only actually, shot the wrong person once in England. Don't you think that's amazing? Only once have we actually shot an innocent person in policing. And it was Cressida Dick who presided over this. It was Stockwell Station about 15 years ago. Yeah, there's been a lot of other stuff, but in terms of police using guns, the example I'm making is that I can tell you the name of the one person that was accidentally executed by a police officer because it was the case of mistaken identity, right? They thought that he ran down he actually wasn't running, he was just walking down to get on his tube, and it was a terrible scenario. Well, the problem is the moment you put on a uniform and you're given license to make arrests and have authority, that sometimes brings out the worst in people. And, I've always thought this about people that are in these types of jobs. I mean, my best friend is a police officer in London, and he's not like that. But he now is a CID officer, so he doesn't even go and do much chasing, and he didn't like doing any chasing before anyway. But when I tell American friends that British police don't have guns, they just can't believe. They just don't believe. How is that possible? We don't have guns. We shout at people. Hey, you! Oi! Stand still! That's what British policing is like. Oi, you! Stop! That's what we do, and we stop. And we don't go, don't shoot, because they haven't got any guns. We just go. In America, it's a very different scenario in America. Because the police don't shout, oi, you, stop. They shoot first, and then they shout, freeze. It's just like the culture. It's fascinating. Keelan, thank you for joining us. First time on the show. Welcome to Backchannel. I'm Anthony Davis. We are discussing, what's happening in the news as we look through the morning papers right now. We're looking at the Times Union. Student loan bills, key issue to voters. As midterm elections near, politicians face mounting pressure to cut debt burden, it says. In the 2.5 decades since he earned his master's degree in counselling from the University of Albany, Matthew Flowers Jr. has been chipping away at student loan debt. The Troy resident has had to delay buying a house until last year. He's had limited contributions to his retirement fund because of his $40,000 he still owes from his original loan, which he described as a weight around my neck. He's one of about 2.5 million New Yorkers who collectively owe $93 billion in student loans, according to the U.S. Department of Education. Just wipe the debt. Just wipe the debt. Just wipe it. We have a scheme in England where your debt actually does get wiped. Do you know about this, Carla? It's quite an interesting system. So if you've got, let's say you have student loan debts of £30,000. If you don't earn a certain amount for the first 5 or 10 years of your working life, your student debt is erased. It's a thing. It is. If you don't get a job to a certain that enables you to earn a certain amount of money, if you can't, because you've had a university degree and you can't get a job that enables you to make enough money to cover it, your student debt gets erased in England. You're muted, but it's a relatively new policy, and I think that when I say new, it's probably 10 years old. It's probably 10 years old. And then they also have another thing. You're still muted. I can't hear you at all. No, I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. No, I can't hear you. No. I can't hear you. This is like a game. This is like a game called I Can't Hear You. Well, I'm plugged in anyway. The point is that there's a scheme that wipes clean your student debt if you don't earn enough money. No one knows about it, but I'm telling you, it's a thing. It's a thing. It is. It's a thing. She's like, it's not a thing. She's like, it's not a thing. It's a thing. If you don't earn enough money, your student debt gets eradicated. I still can't hear you. But obviously this is a huge thing in America. And also people, I have friends here that still have student debt and they're in their late 30s. They still haven't paid off their student debts. And then it gets sent to collection agencies and they're just phoning them all the time and they're just like, nope, not taking that call, not taking that call. That's just how it is now. Let me turn you up, see if it's me. No, it's not me. No, it's definitely you. Very, very faint, like very tiny. Very tiny. Interesting, isn't it? It's interesting. City settles police union contracts. Albany asks Common Council to approve rescue plan. Funds to help offset expenses is the headline there. And 2 top county officials' phones seized by the FBI. Interesting. This is about alleged absentee ballot fraud. Yes. You see, it's all starting to happen now. All of these lies about election fraud, it's all starting to happen. Should we do the US news update? Should we make that happen? Because I do a podcast each day. It's just a short one, 2 minutes long, but it basically is an update, daily update you can subscribe to wherever you get your podcasts. And it enables you to hear, just a little update on what's happening around the US. Here it is.
It's Friday, February 4. From the Volley Network, this is your daily US news update. I'm Anthony Davis. Wall Street snapped a 4-session winning streak on Thursday, with all 3 benchmarks ending lower after Facebook owner Meta Platforms' dour forecast sent its stock plummeting and halted a nascent recovery built on upbeat earnings from other big tech. Meta shares sank 26.4%, wiping around more than $200 billion off its market value, as it blamed Apple's privacy changes and increased competition from rivals such as TikTok for its disappointing outlook. The decline in market capitalization was the largest ever recorded by a US company in a single session, eclipsing when Apple shed $180 billion on September 3, 2020. In turn, Meta's performance eliminated 0.9% of the Nasdaq's value and cut the S&P 500's combined worth by 0.6%. The exchanges respectively their worst daily falls since September February 2021. Shares of other social media companies also took a beating. Twitter dropped 5.6%, while Pinterest and Snap slumped 10.3% and 23.6% respectively, ahead of reporting theirs after the bell. Republican state lawmakers in Georgia are pushing legislation to redraw electoral maps in 3 counties, in a move that would effectively override local officials who have traditionally wielded that power in what has become a battleground state. Democrat and voting rights activists say moves are norm-busting power grabs for county commissioner seats that could significantly impact governance in areas with much minority population. Daily US News Update is part of the Volley Network. To hear my live daily morning show, ask an Echo device. To open Backchannel.
I was a little staccato. I can only apologize about that. We've got, Gremlins, I guess. That was a good film, wasn't it, Gremlins? That's like I was really like in the prime of my youth when that was a thing. It's 5 minutes after 10 here on the West Coast, 5 minutes after 1 Eastern. This is Backchannel. It's the 4th of February, 2022. We're looking through the morning papers, and you are contributing in your own usual way. Verona's just joined us. Hi, Verona, from New Hampshire. Welcome. Keelan's with us as well. We've been talking about all sorts, satellites and frequencies and police and guns and all sorts of stuff. But we'll carry on, because that's what we do. We just carry on. We're very stalwart like that. We keep calm and we carry on. Let's go to the Citizen paper now in Auburn, New York. They lead this morning with Biden, enough is enough. He said, running through a grim tally of recent gun deaths, President Joe Biden pledged to New Yorkers and the nation on Thursday that the federal government would step up its fight against gun violence by working more closely with police and communities to stop the surging bloodshed. Well, he could start by asking the police to stop executing people. I mean, that would probably halve gun deaths, wouldn't it? Just let them go. Just let them go. Their life is worth more than you catching them in that moment. Just my view. It's enough. Enough is enough, Biden told police, law enforcement officials, and lawmakers gathered at the city's police headquarters. We can do something about this. I don't know that he can. I honestly don't know that it's possible. You know, I never used to be defeatist or say kind of out loud defeatist things. But now I recognize that actually the toothpaste is already out of the tube. The guns are already in circulation. The genie is out of the bottle. And the police set a bad example, don't they? Because if the police kill people, then people think it's okay to kill people, to shoot people, because the police do it. So what you first need to do is, can you imagine if America decided, I mean, I know it wouldn't happen because, you know, police services are organized by state, but if there was a blanket rule that the police couldn't have guns in America anymore, like the amnesty on guns was starting with law enforcement. Can you imagine? I mean, it would set an amazing example, wouldn't it? So I guarantee that 50% of the police force would leave the industry. They'd be like, I'm not going out there without a gun. And, you know, part of the reason is because I've always been of the opinion that the police that work in the police who do fire weapons and have weapons love weapons and they love shooting them. And part of the fun for them is being able to legally shoot people and get away with it. I've always thought that. Biden's crime-fighting strategy relies heavily on buy-in from state and local officials as he suggests ways to spend federal dollars and expand on initiatives already underway. The modest initiatives demonstrate the limits to what he can do when there is no appetite in Congress to pass gun legislation. Biden came to New York a day after the funeral of the second of two New York City cops shot and killed during a domestic violence call on January 21st. Officials wrapped up the event to get to hospital, where another officer was being released after an injury in yet another shooting. The visit gave the president a chance to push back against Republicans who claim he's soft on crime and to distance himself from those in the left flank of his Democratic Party who want to shift funding away from police departments to social spending programs. He said the answer is not to defund the police, it's to give you the tools, the training, the funding, to be partners, to be protectors, and to know the community. We've heard this so many times, haven't we? This rhetoric. And nothing seems to change. In fact, things just seem to get worse. It's a bit like the climate change conference that was a disaster, COP26. And the one prior to that, 6 months earlier, was a disaster. Like, nothing changed. It's like they go, they cost a fortune to put these events on. People fly in, all their huge carbon footprint for this huge climate summit. Nothing happened. There was no changes. No one agreed on anything. It was like, okay, see you next year. It's almost as if politicians have become a pastiche of themselves, like their job is to go to events and say all the right things and do nothing. I'll call you back, Carla. Maybe that'll work. I'll call you back. The city of Napa is undergoing a faster economic recovery from the pandemic than the firm first anticipated. The headline is Council Hears Financial Forecast. It says, but city staff forecasted this week that if nothing changes, city spending will likely outstrip revenues during the next 5 fiscal years. I'm enjoying this music, aren't you? It's quite trippy today. Super trippy. We're talking about Napa. Jesse Gooch, City of Napa budget officer, told the Napa City Council on Tuesday that the projection is based on historic trends from the past 6 years of revenues and expenditures. She stressed that assumptions behind the forecast can quickly change if the economy changes. She said there's a common misconception that the forecast is going to accurately predict the future, but unfortunately we don't have a crystal ball in the finance department. Ending period poverty, there's a story here. Do you know that I was reading the statistic about children in England this morning? 31% of children in the UK live in poverty. 31%. It's not working, Carla. I can't hear you, my love. I'm so sorry. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. Something's going on, but I don't know what it is. There's something happening here. Producer Carla, she basically sits in front of me on a screen and kind of, barks at me and gives me all these excellent suggestions and turns this show into more of a special thing. Also, Commission endorses micro-winery law is the headline. Advocates who say Napa County should make it easier for small firms to create micro-wineries have secured backing from the County Planning Commission. So that's a story about the wine industry on the Napa Valley Register. How are we doing on the newspapers here? How did I get to the Napa Valley Register? I don't even remember even selecting that one. It just kind of showed up. It's so random. Let's go to South Carolina. Nothing, Carla. Not a word. I can't hear a word. I'm so sorry. Such a shame, because you always have the best things to say. Shooting threat, racist graffiti found at Battery Creek High. That's on the front of the Beaufort Gazette this morning. Post Office would be named this historical Beaufort figure, and SC budget writers begin debate on income tax rate cut. I'm whizzing through the Beaufort Gazette because it's just one of those things. Oh, hi to Jane, who's just joined us as well. Welcome. Kai is with us. Verona. Nice to know that you are all listening to Backchannel and watching it, and hopefully taking part. You can message at backchannel.tv. It's like a web browser. You can even save it to your desktop or your homepage if you set that up as a web page for yourself. Okay, next up, let's go to the Herald News for Woodland Park, New Jersey. Do a little bit in New Jersey right now. I like these little newspapers because they tell us stuff about like local places that we might not necessarily go to. Biden, obviously this whole kind of gun death story is very big in New York. Biden steps up fight against gun violence, plans to work with police and communities. Not going to make any difference, I'm telling you. Time to unmask students, group says. To mask or not mask children in school. Unmask them, says a group of doctors and scientists in urgency of normal. A set of recommendations that challenge key guidance issued by the American Academy of Pediatrics and the CDC. Yeah, I don't know. I just think you should keep your masks on. Unless the kids are vaccinated. I think if the kids are vaccinated, it's probably okay. What do you think? I'd say if you're vaccinated, it's probably okay. Because, I mean, I can go to a restaurant. I haven't been to a restaurant in quite a long time. But if I go to a restaurant, I have to wear the mask to walk in the restaurant and say, hello, can I have a table, please? And then they show you to your table, and then you sit at your table right next to other people at their table, and then you take the mask off. It's like, and then there's a sign on the door when you go in that says, masks must be worn for entry. What, just for entry? Amazing, isn't it? Murphy names his former chief counsel as next Attorney General. It says Platkin to be acting capacity February 14. This is the governor. Matt Platkin is speaking after he was named governor. That's right. He's the new governor. Interesting. Okay, let's move on. Carla is now. I stay there, Carla, because I just want to take a pic. I just took a picture of that. That's so funny. It's so good. You're the best. South Dakota Republic now. South Dakota ends the bingo tax in bipartisan fashion. It's a tax on bingo distributors. Is bingo still a thing? I mean, I'm amazed. I thought bingo was like just exclusive to small seaside towns. Apparently, it's huge. Yeah. If you've ever played it yourself, if you're one of those people that has got out there and legs 11, all the threes 33, two fat ladies 88. I mean, I wonder if that translates to America as well, or if that's just a British thing, where they kind of, the bingo caller would have to kind of make it slightly more entertaining than just say the numbers. So they would, create a slang that went with every number. On its own, number 9. It's so much fun. I mean, who cares, you know? But it's kind of there's a whole culture of it. In England, there's a whole culture of it. You know, people like go to bingo once a week, and it's a fixture in many retired people's diaries, calendars. Yeah. I'm just thinking about it. I just think it's really fun. You know, I'm just thinking about it. I'm still here. I'm just thinking about bingo in bingo halls with like 200 elderly people striking with a short pencil a number off a piece of paper. And in England, you shout house. Instead of shouting bingo, you shout house. Is that the same in America? Do you shout house if you get like a full page? This is so funny. Why is this so funny? It shouldn't be. I find it very funny. I just find it very funny. I think it's the simplicity of it, you know? I think that's what it is. I think it's the fact that people come from all over town to sit in a room, to listen for a number, to strike it off, and to stand up and be like, I won, like $1, like $5. It's like gambling for sober people. And the whole families go and do it, you know? Like in some parts of the UK, entire families will go out and go bingo together, you know? And they love it. Native state park fee waivers proposed. Bills would allow SD Native Americans to hunt, fish, and visit state parks for free in the Mitchell Republic this morning. Well, yeah, of course Native Americans shouldn't have to go into national parks. It's just genius. Think about that for a second. They've been charging Native Americans for going into national parks. I mean, that in itself is just like capitalism personified, isn't it? I mean, it's genius. It's like, whose land is it anyway? Native Americans from South Dakota would be able to hunt or fish anywhere in the state for free and visit or camp in state parks without paying fees under 2 new bills under consideration by the state legislature. I mean, I think this is genius. House Bill 1141 would allow enrolled members of a federally recognized Indian tribe located entirely or partially in South Dakota to be exempt from fees for hunting or fishing licenses, permits, or stamps. House Bill 1142 would allow those same tribal members to be exempt from fees to enter camp or in state parks, or be in state parks. Both bills were proposed by Representative Sean Bordeaux, Democrat, member of the Rosebud Sioux tribe. Bordeaux said he proposed the state park fee waiver for natives after seeing that Minnesota had enacted a law waiving park entrance fees for tribal members starting this year. New York State waives hunting and fishing fees for enrolled tribal members according to state law. I mean, it's just so crazy, you know, because I used to think, I mean, the simplest analogy of this is I used to say, you know, the dinosaurs, when they roamed this planet, they didn't consider borders. They didn't be like, oh, look, I just stepped into Mexico. You know, like it wasn't an issue for them. They weren't like, oh, look, Canada, 1 foot, America, another foot. It wasn't an issue for them, right? They just roamed the land freely. And it was us idiot humans that showed up and decided to draw these border lines and fight over territory and then build a wall on the southern border or put a barrier up or some kind of toll booth or you know, land border. I mean, who are we? Who are we that we should be allowed to do that? It's not our land. None of it is our land. It's not humans' land. The land belongs to the planet and the animals and the dinosaurs. They were here first. It's just so offensive if you really think about it, that people are fighting over territory and it's like, it doesn't belong to you. You didn't build that land. You might have built on that land, but you didn't build the land. The land appeared from a volcanic eruption. We're a water planet. This planet is mostly water. There's a little bit of land on this planet. It's not ours. It was volcanic eruptions that formed the land. It wasn't formed by Ron DeSantis. He didn't create Florida. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if he made a speech and claimed that he did create Florida. He can have it, he can have it. I like the idea of Ron DeSantis being so heavily demoted that he ends up working in, like, Disneyland Orlando. In having to wear, like, a Minnie Mouse costume or something. And that's, like, where, and people will say, whatever happened to Ron DeSantis? Be like, oh, he works at Disneyland now. He does Minnie Mouse 4 hours a day. And, like, you see him taking the head off at the end of his shift, just, like, looking really disappointed. Be like, whatever happened to that guy? Yeah, he's Minnie Mouse now. We wouldn't even give him the pleasure of being Mickey. The fact is, he has to wear a dress, even though Minnie Mouse is now, kind of cisgender. Like, you just wouldn't really know what Minnie Mouse is. They just changed her shoes. She's not wearing a heel anymore. She's wearing a comfortable shoe. Let's go to the Daily Journal for Vineyard, New Jersey. It's going to be beautiful is the headline. When Valentine's supplies run low, so Jersey businesses get creative is the headline. Also, Cumberland County program seeks to reduce use of force. And hello to Nancy, who's just joined us. Welcome, Nancy. What a pleasure to know that you're here. Happy Valentine's. What are we? We're 10 days away from Valentine's. Maybe we should do a Valentine's special. I like the idea. Carla, do you have any plans for Valentine's? Have you had an invite? Has anybody invited you out for a sneaky drink? Oh, they have. Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so pleased. I like to know that everyone's being looked after on Valentine's Day. I hate the idea to know that, you're just staying in on your own. I think everyone deserves an outing. Where are you going to go? Somewhere nice? Like, you're going to go to like a Harvester or something? You're going to go to a Harvester? Are you going for a hike, like a jog? What, as a Valentine's date? To the top of a hill? What? That's the date. You're going on a walk. That's wonderful. Are you going to take a picnic? Some charcuterie. Take a little charcuterie in a backpack. A little wine. What a great thing to do for Valentine's. Go for a walk. I guess you're going like Primrose Hill or somewhere like that, or Highgate, or I'm so close. Let me Hampstead. You go to Hampstead Heath. Hampstead Heath. I got it. Third time lucky. A walk on the Heath. It's so romantic. Because, restaurants, the problem is restaurants on Valentine's Day, they double the price. They double the price. So people go in thinking it's the usual prices, and it's not. And so whoever's paying for dinner invariably is like in agony for the whole meal because they're like, I now realize how much this is going to cost me. One of my best Valentines happened when I was like 32. And I met somebody and I said, Valentine's happened like a week after we met. And I said, would you come to Pizza Hut with me for Valentine's? And she was the kind of person who kind of understood my humor. And she was like, yeah, totally. And so, no word of a lie, we went to Pizza Hut on Victoria Street in London. And it was one of the best Valentines I've ever had. Best Valentines I've ever had in the Pizza Hut. Because it was like reminiscing our childhood, with the salad bar. And I think we might have done the as much as you can eat for £10. I think we were like doing endless pizza. I really fancy Pizza Hut right now. Now I'm thinking about it. I'm like, First thing I do when I finish this show is I just go and stuff my face. It's my thing. It's my little routine. Okay, so the Daily Journal this morning, it says, from floral designers to charity, pan or thin. Oh, I'm a deep pan guy at Pizza Hut. Deep pan, every time. I think thin is fine if you go to like Pizza Express or like one of these other places. But if you want to have a Pizza Hut, you've got to have the deep pan. It's essential. It's essential. It's the house speciality. You'd be foolish to order a thin and crispy pizza in Pizza Hut. Foolish. Where's your brain? my favorite pizza topping of all time is actually one I don't seem to be able to get anywhere. I like a Napolitana, just a very basic, what do they call it? What's the name? Margarita, right? So I like a high quality tomato, a sprinkling of mozzarella, and then 3 strategically placed basil leaves. And that's it. That's all I want. That's all I want. That's what I want. To me, that's a really good pizza. Just 3 things. Good tomatoes, good cheese, lovely basil leaves. When you start sticking ham and pineapple and peppers and all that stuff, it's insanity. Although saying that, the other thing I really like is I like mushrooms and black olives. Right? And I like to pack them on there because I make my own pizzas. So when I'm talking about this, I'm not talking about arguing with a guy on the telephone about how I want it. I make my own. I buy the base. I make it myself. I don't make the base. I'm not a genius. But the mushrooms, and I get my kids to do it as well. We call it the pizzeria. They sit up at the bar, and we get the plates, and we make our own pizzas, and then they eat it because they've made it. And then on because the pizza base is quite big, we designate a third of each of their bases to be daddy pizza. So like I get my mushrooms and my olives up one end, and they decorate it for me. They do it. And then once it's been baked, I then slice off my edges, and then they eat the rest of theirs. It's beautiful. I mean, this is really the secret to feeding children. It's the secret to feeding children. You create a pizzeria, and you have them do all the work. Carla, I've just sent you a little picture on WhatsApp. I think you might want to look at it. I've just sent you a little picture. Okay, so that's the Daily Journal this morning. Let's move on. Oh, one last newspaper is from Ohio. It's the Akron Beacon Journal. This is an interesting story. It says family alleges sperm mix-up is the headline here. For 28 years, Jessica thought Mike Harvey was her biological father, but then she took a DNA test to search for distant relatives and got shocking results. She and her dad didn't share the same genes. Instead, Jessica's biological father was a man she and her parents had never met. The news came as a bit of a shock to her parents as well, and now the Harvey family is suing. They claim Jessica's mother's fertility procedure in 1991 was botched, and the mother was impregnated with the wrong sperm. So the family filed a lawsuit on Wednesday in Summit County Court against Summa Health, Dr. Nicholas Spiritos, the doctor who performed the intrauterine insemination, and Spiritos Akron fertility business. They said, by sharing our story, we hope we might be able to help others and prevent this from happening to them. I mean, this reminds me of the COVID tests that we were talking about a couple of days ago. These companies that were setting up these COVID testing sites, they had no intention of getting accurate results, or they just told everyone they were negative, took the money, and didn't bother sending anything to the lab. They just realized that you could buy a swab for next to no money, and then you could just swab someone, put it in a bag, say, yeah, that's going off to the lab, and never send it. You don't have to pay for any equipment. You don't even have to pay for a testing machine. A reminder that Volley has a growing list of shows, including Haley and Allison Live, waking you up in the morning with lots of laughs and their one-star cinema review, or Live Every Day with Liv Harrison, live from Texas, celebrating the little things in life with plenty of coffee, and Hal Rudnick's show in half an hour. Your pal Hal will be here. Are we going to see if Hal wants to have a chat today? Because we didn't have one yesterday. Is it worth tapping him up for that? Do you remember he wasn't available yesterday, but maybe we could try him today. We'll try. We'll see if he can think. We've got a few more newspapers that it's worth doing, because I've got some other things I wanted to talk about as well, but we seem to have covered gun policy. We seem to have covered that already. Oh, that's right. We were going to talk about ghost guns. Maybe we should do that, because this is a very interesting conversation to have. This is on yesterday. The Biden administration announced a slew of measures aimed at cutting down on gun violence, including a new Justice Department effort specifically cracking down on the use of ghost guns. And the ghost gun, as you know, is where you kind of download parts or plans for parts, and you get different parts, and you make a gun at home that is therefore unlicensed because it goes unnoticed, because it arrives in bits. Well, the DOJ is launching a national ghost gun enforcement initiative ahead of Biden's and Merrick Garland's travel to New York City to discuss gun violence. Well, he's in New York City now, so this must have been yesterday. It says the department's latest initiative on ghost guns, which are privately made and difficult to track, will prioritize bringing federal charges against individuals who use those weapons. The DOJ plans to train prosecutors on issues specifically related to ghost guns in a bid to better enforce laws against the weapons, which have grown in popularity. Is there anywhere that I could live in the United States where there was not a proliferation of firearms? Is there anywhere I could go? Because the problem is, if you go to more rural places, there's more guns because people are so far away from the police that they need to protect themselves. And yet, if you live in the metropolis, as I do, you are surrounded by people who are also, keen to fire their weapons. It's jokes. Local law enforcement reported 1,750 suspected ghost guns in 2016. That number had grown to 8,712 by 2020. And the rest, you could triple that. How can they even count them? It says eliminating the use of ghost guns has been a priority for the DOJ and some lawmakers. The department published a rule late last year seeking to curb the prevalence of those weapons. The Ghost Gun Initiative is one of several measures the administration announced as it seeks to emphasize actions targeting community violence. And Garland is directing U.S. attorneys to prioritize federal prosecutions of those who illegally sell or transfer firearms that are used in violent crimes, and the department is announcing a new initiative seeking to curb drug-related violence and overdose deaths by partnering with local law enforcement. It's interesting, isn't it? I mean, I just don't know what they're tasting. They're effectively chasing a ghost, aren't they? They're chasing a ghost. How do you enforce this? How do you enforce the unenforceable? I mean, some people have been printing guns with 3D printers, like making their own guns with a 3D printer where there are no parts. Do you know what I mean? There's just no parts. This water's so old, it looks like it's got stuff floating in it. I mean, I'd like to just have a sip of it, but I'm kind of... it's definitely got stuff floating in it. Yep, that's completely disgusting. I think that water maybe is what they call fermented. You know that phrase? A little fermented water. Never hurt anybody. That water must have been sitting there for 2 months. Is that not good to drink? I actually have, I worry sometimes about being locked in here, so I actually have a couple of things that I have just in case I get locked in. And I'll show you a few of them. I've got some snacks in here somewhere, like I keep emergency snacks. I think it's like a granola bar or something. I can't find it now. Maybe I ate it when I last got locked in. But I do keep a very large bottle of water, just in case. Because I'm not a fool. But I don't want to open that one, because I just feel like that would be wrong. You know, I'd rather drink the fermented stuff. Not good. So my opinion on the ghost guns, I mean, maybe you have an opinion, but my opinion on the ghost guns is danger. You know? Danger. Stacey says I can hear a budget noise coming from your end. What's a budget noise? Something noise? Budget noise? Budgie? Les has joined us. Johnny's joined us as well. Nancy, thank you for spending your time with Backchannel. Lots of people on the show today. You can message me. Just go to backchannel.tv. Talking about ghost guns. We were going to talk about... do you remember we were going to talk about this young girl, Alison Fluke Akron? She's very interesting. She's a 42-year-old woman from Kansas. We mentioned her earlier. If you were listening earlier, we mentioned her. She's been arrested in relation to her alleged work with ISIS. Now, of course, there was the arrest. I can't hear you. I'm so sorry. There was the I don't know what it is. Let me unplug something and plug it back in. Yeah, I can't hear you. It's such a shame. Such a shame. The technology is always so good. Today it's just let us down a little bit. A 42-year-old woman from Kansas, Alison Fluke Akron, was arrested in relation to her alleged work with ISIS. Because, I was saying that yesterday it was announced that Joe Biden had sent the Navy SEALs in to kill the current head of ISIS. I'm sure there'll be a new one starting tomorrow. But anyway, this woman from Kansas, they allege that she was permanently living overseas and involved in Islamic terrorism by 2011. The Kansas native dedicated a blog to the adventures of the Fluke Akron family in 2008, where she shared memories of her family's travels in Turkey and Egypt. She's a former teacher. She was married to a man who died in 2016 after he reportedly attempted to carry out a terrorist attack in Syria. She allegedly went on to marry an ISIS member who also died before tying the knots to a prominent ISIS leader in charge of the failed 2017 Raqqa defense. I mean, this is a remarkable story if you think about it. That this all-American girl, she was considered an all-American girl, is 1 minute living in Kansas, and the next minute she's leading an all-woman battalion in Syria. Well, she's now been arrested and charged by federal prosecutors with providing and conspiring to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization. She was apprehended in Syria earlier and was transferred to FBI custody on Friday, according to the criminal complaint at a Saturday news release from the Department of Justice. Fluke Akron allegedly wanted to recruit operatives to attack a U.S. college campus and is accused of discussing a terrorist attack on a shopping mall. So she was brought back to the US from Syria to face charges. And while in Syria, she was also appointed to lead and train women and children to use AK-47 rifles, grenades, and suicide belts for ISIS starting in 2016. I mean, it's like you just don't really know who your neighbors are. Do you know what I mean? It's like who am I living next door to in Kansas? She also allegedly provided the terrorist group and its members with lodging, translating speeches made by ISIS leaders and teaching extremist ISIS doctrine, the statement said. I mean, this is amazing. So on Monday, she's going to appear in a federal courthouse in Alexandria, Virginia. If convicted, she faces a maximum penalty of 20 years in prison. She's not yet entered a plea, according to the news release. I tell you, talking of not entering a plea, did you hear what happened to the Armored Arbory murderers today? Oh, you know that 2 days ago they changed their plea to guilty so that they could try and get a shorter... so they've now changed it back to not guilty. Yeah, they've now changed it back to not guilty. I mean, it's mind-blowing. They're just trying to play the system, work the system. Jules has joined us for the first time. Welcome, Jules. Thank you. Stacey just had to go just a moment ago because her time is up. Linda has joined us as well. Welcome, Linda. Thank you for joining Backchannel. This is the only place you can watch and join in with hosts right here on your device. If you've got yourself an Echo show, then you just wake it up, say the word say, and then your message. And you can talk to me right here or any of the hosts that are going to be in this chair. We're going to talk to Hal in just about 4 minutes' time and find out what's happening in his show because he's on after me. I was thinking, what does that say? Oh, thank you. This is producer Carla, who's in England, is actually sending me messages because the audio link has dropped out. For some reason, I don't know why. We probably just need to restart our devices. You know? We probably just need to restart our devices. That's all it is. But we can't do that now because it'll take forever. So we've been talking about, just to kind of back up a little, we've been talking about Alison Fluke Akron, the 42-year-old Kansas woman who was arrested in relation to her alleged work in with ISIS. Also looking at US gun policy, as the police, government is going to crack down on homemade guns bought and sold without records amid this surge in gun crime with ghost guns. And we've also been looking through the morning papers and discussing everything from satellites to, we need to talk about butterflies. The Texas Butterfly Sanctuary that sued to block border wall construction has been forced to close due to escalating threats from conspiracy theorists. This is an actual thing. The National Butterfly Center sits on the Rio Grande Valley on the US-Mexico border. It was a vocal opponent of Donald Trump's promised border barrier. QAnon believers and groups supporting Donald Trump have baselessly claimed the center is smuggling migrants. The center said it was closing for the safety of our staff and visitors. The center will be closed until further notice, said Jeffrey Glassberg, president of the North American Butterfly Association, which runs the organization. His statement cited disruption caused by false and defamatory attacks directed by political operatives. The sanctuary is home to over 200 species of butterfly, as well as bobcats, armadillos, coyotes, tortoises. It attracts more than 35,000 visitors a year, including 6,000 migrants. I mean, school children. This is so crazy, isn't it? You know, people are often looking for answers, aren't they? I was thinking about this in terms of Joe Rogan and the whole conspiracy theory. Because I was looking into those two guys that he'd had on that he argued were experts. And it turns out neither of them were experts. They were just conspiracy theorists with alternative views. And he had them on for completely the wrong reasons, which was to grow his audience. He knew exactly what he was doing. The guy is a grifter, not a good person, in my view. Because, we could all get a huge audience if we said terrible, crazy things. It does attract people, and people are very drawn to this type of thing. But, if you are safe and responsible and respectful, then you're probably not going to be as big a star as Joe Rogan. But you might be happier. And my feeling is, people are so desperate to have the upper hand, they'll believe anything if it means going against the grain. And they'll go looking, if you go looking for a medical expert who has an opposing view to the majority of the mainstream medical experts, you will find them. You will find them. They exist. It's just Joe Rogan put them on the biggest podcast in the world. I would like to go to this 20-year-old nature conservatory for wild butterflies. Although saying that, I don't think I would. I once went to the butterfly sanctuary at London Zoo, and I walked in there, and the door shut behind me, and I was like, all these kamikaze dive-bombing butterflies. I was like, what am I doing in here? I ran through. You enter in one end and you come out the other. It's like a long tunnel and it's dark in there. And I was like, I've never been so traumatized in my life. I must have killed half a dozen, endangered butterflies. I must have killed half a dozen endangered butterflies. A couple of them that I batted off, I actually got them flat in the face. It was terrifying. I'm not a fan of butterflies. Okay, let's talk to Hal, because he's about to join us, and we'll find out exactly what's happening in his world. Hal, you a butterfly man, or are you like me, you prefer them on toast?
Oh, my goodness, I love the butterflies.
Yeah?
Oh, they're lovely creatures. Now, were you talking at all about the butterfly sanctuary in Texas and the nonsense? Oh, my goodness.
I mean, what a story.
Oh, I mean, from the people who brought you Pizzagate comes Butterflygate.
I agree.
I was just going to ask, did you hear about the, In Yiddish, we call it fakakta, crazy. The crazy story from the last couple of years with the Wayfarer, the Wayfair dressers and chests of drawers that apparently certain people thought they were hiding children in, and they were shipping children. Look it up. It's beyond comprehension. But there were conspiracy theorists who thought the furniture or the online superstore Wayfair was selling human beings inside furniture.
Like a kind of Trojan horse. They advertised as the Trojan horse. Buy yours here.
Yes.
Can you imagine that, though? You get a nice delivery of a nice chest of drawers, and there's 6 kids in them. I mean,
oh boy, brother.
Yeah. We were saying earlier that there is an increasing number of people who are in search of an alternative answer. Like the traditional answer is not enough for them, even if it's common sense. Even if it's a common sense answer to a simple problem. They're not interested. They want to find the most extravagant, outrageous, nonsensical solution, and then they'll stick with that, and they will not budge. And what is it with people? Is it as insecurity? What is it? Why do people are so desperate to accuse the media of being mainstream? I mean, what is wrong with people?
It's kooky. And isn't it Occam's razor, which posits that the simplest solution is usually the truth, is usually the correct answer? I feel like people don't have enough going on in their life, maybe, or there's not something that drives them. It's not something that they get excited to wake up for every day. So when they have this light bulb where it's like, I'm onto it, I know the secret. Everyone else is wrong.
Yes. Like they've been tipped off.
I found my purpose.
Right. You're absolutely right.
Anthony, my purpose is to talk to the folks over Backchannel and just give a little information and maybe a couple of laughs.
It's all we need. We just crave some distraction from reality. I certainly
True
do.
that.
May
I ask you a question?
I'd love. I'm an open book. Go ahead.
What do you, as far as distraction goes, what do you have planned for the weekend, Anthony Davis?
That's nice. Well, I'll be playing with my children mainly tomorrow.
That
invariably involves, we like to go to diners. They love a diner.
Yes.
So we go to a diner.
I'm a Jersey guy. Jersey is a rich diner culture.
Is it?
Yes.
Interesting. Well, we rotate our diners. We don't like to stick to the same diners, and so they went to a Mel's diner the other day for the first time. It's not their first time, but they don't remember it from the first, when they were younger. They don't remember it. So seeing jukeboxes, and especially like a little jukebox on every table, was so exciting for them. And pressing all the buttons and everything, and so that's probably what we'll end up doing. It's very hard to kind of think about new things to do with your kids every weekend. It's hard to come up with stuff. So I tend to default to the things that I like doing and hope that they will enjoy them as well.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
Right?
If and when my wife and I have a little one, I'm sure I will take great joy in showing them the movies that I love, or introducing them to music or a book that really touched me. So yeah.
Well, here's the thing, and you would be interested in this. My son is 3.5, and he is obsessed with Spider-Man. But imagine how frustrating it is for me that I can't show him the current latest Spider-Man movie that is like so incredibly Spider-Man-y, and I can't show because it's a PG movie. He's way too young for it. So there's all this Spider-Man material. There's like 7 films now, dating back to Andrew Thingy and Tobey Maguire.
Tobey Maguire, yep.
He would love to see all of these, but of course he can't. And so sometimes when we're scrolling through the Apple TV, and he might see what is the tile of the new movie. And he'll go, Spider-Man, Spider-Man, there's real Spider-Man, grown-up Spider-Man, want to see grown-up. And I can't show it to him. I can't even show him the trailer. The trailer is too much for him. It would blow his mind.
At what age do you plan to introduce Spider-Man to the youngster?
It would have to be around, I don't know, I mean, I guess it would have to be around 12.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. I mean, he watches Baby Spider-Man. There's a Baby Spider-Man cartoon where Spider-Man's like a little baby Spider-Man. It's on Disney Plus.
Gotcha.
And he watches that. And he's got the Spider-Man toys and all the Spider. If he knew how much quality Spider-Man material is out there.
Oh, there's some good stuff.
Yeah.
Into the Spider-Verse. That's a really great one, the animated. Yeah.
Do you know, I actually did show them the first 5 minutes of that.
Okay.
Because I thought that, before it starts to get crazy, I wanted them to see the vibe of that. And they really enjoyed it. Mm-hmm. But then I turned it off.
Well, they've got a treasure trove awaiting them. Can I get your opinion?
Yes.
I consider you a thoughtful guy. I would like to hear what. I've been very hesitant to just go out to big crowds, or I've been really hunkering down, my wife and I. But now I'm a big basketball fan, and I've been thinking about going to a basketball game in the next week or so. Yeah, do you think it's too soon, or?
But it's outdoors, isn't it?
No, basketball at the
indoors.
Crypto.com arena.
I don't know anything about sport, you see, so I wouldn't know that basketball is indoors. I would presume
indoors.
It's outdoors.
I mean, if people do hoop it up outdoors, but
I know they hoop it up. I've seen that. I've seen that in the park. Are you both triple vaccinated?
Yes. Well, double. I got the Johnson & Johnson the first time around, so yes. Okay. But I am boosted. Vaxxed and boosted over here.
I think if you can get yourself some N95 masks, I think it's fine.
Oh, you mean this guy right here?
Exactly. That's the one. I mean, you might not be able to see or hear the game, but you'll be there in spirit, because there's a big old mask. I just got a box of 50 of those, and they don't fit.
They don't fit?
They're, for some reason, maybe it's because I bought, like Chinese fake ones, but they don't quite get over my ears without like pulling my whole face forward.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I appreciate your sage advice. Thank you, Anthony.
Not at all. Thank you so much. Lovely to see you. Looking forward to hearing your entire show in just a few minutes.
Thank you, good sir.
All the best. Hi to Taddy and Les and Nathan and Linda and Jules. They're just joining us, so you're going to get to see Hal in just a couple of minutes. I'm Anthony Davis. I'll come back Monday, because of course it's the weekend now, isn't it? So I'll be back on Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific. That's noon Eastern, and we can spend some more time together then. But stay with Backchannel for, all of the greatest thoughts that a single person can have. It's in your pal Hal. And he's next on Backchannel.